ancient banned manuscript of Jesus' secret teachings is unearthed after 1,600 years. Whoa, ho, ho, ho. Wow, see? Known all along, those Christians were suppressing the real teachings of Jesus. And here's something that goes back 1,600 years. And it's been banned because we know those Christians were in control of everything, and they suppressed the real teachings of Jesus. That's what we learned when we watched Tom Hanks and the Da Vinci Code, That's the, we did some deep, deep historical study there. Yeah, well, so Rob Waugh for metro.co.uk, and you can find this on CNN and Fox and everything else, and a heretical manuscript which reveals Jesus' secret teachings to his brother James has been unearthed by American researchers. Well, here's the problem. Here is my, this is volume 3 of the Coptic Gnostic Library, first published in the year 2000. So that means, let me do the math here, 17 years ago, this was published, hopefully not my particular set, but it's been available there for 17 years, and it was available before then. And here, right pretty much in the middle of the volume, I'd say, the first Apocalypse of James. Whole thing. Been known to scholars for a long time. I have the entire complete codices of the Gnostic Library, both in printed and electronic form. In various sources. Logos has them. I think Accordance might have them. I know Logos does. I have that. So, as normal, what you've got in social media, in the mainstream media, the sensationalization, it's December. You're supposed to do this in December and in March. These are the 2 months because of the resurrection of Christ and the birth of Christ that you do everything you can to promote unbelief in Christ. That's the purpose behind all of this. And so you assign people who are clueless about history, don't know how to do research, wouldn't know how to look something up to see if, is this really new or what's going on here? What's the actual story? Well, the actual story is that some researchers in Texas have found either 5th or 6th century Greek manuscripts of a work that we've only possessed in Coptic. But they know that their audience doesn't know that, doesn't care about that. They want click-throughs. So this is the level of scholarship that we have to deal with very often as Christians because, hey, the guy in the cubicle next to you doesn't know, has no background, probably doesn't know any Christians that do know or have any background. And so he reading through his Facebook feed, runs across this, knows you're a Christian, says, hey, did you hear? They found the secret teachings of Jesus. Now, our listening audience is weird. And if you're watching, that makes you weird. Let's be honest. So what we have in this first Apocalypse of James is a Gnostic fragment, and it is very fragmentary, from at least a century after, at least a century and a half at the earliest after the days of Jesus, at least a century after the last apostles, and maybe longer. That does not originate from Jerusalem or the environs thereof, Galilee, anything like that. Is not historical. It's apocryphal. So that's when they say banned. What they mean is, well, it wasn't put in the canon. Well, duh. That's right, because it has nothing to do with anything Jesus ever said to James. It's fiction based upon a completely different worldview. But remember, about a year ago, we did some story time with Uncle Jimmy. Well, I thought it would be a good idea today to start off. And how would you like to be really prepared to answer questions about this current thing that's bopping around CNN and Fox News and everything else? It's not overly long because it's very fragmentary. So it's going to be hard to read. But I'm going to read the first apocalypse of James for you. At least a major portion of it. I don't know. The first apocalypse of James, the apocalypse of James, it is the Lord who spoke with me. See now the completion of my redemption. I have given you a sign of these things, James, my brother. For not without reason have I called you my brother, although you are not my brother materially. For I am not ignorant concerning you, so that when I give you a sign, no one here, nothing existed except him who is. He is unnameable and ineffable. I myself also am unnameable from him who is, just as I have been given a number of names, two from him who is. And I am before you, since you have asked concerning femaleness. Femaleness existed, but femaleness was not first, and it prepared for itself powers and gods. But it did not exist when I came forth, since I am an image of him who is. But I have brought forth the image of him, so that the sons of him who is might know what things are theirs and what things are alien to them. Behold, I shall reveal to you everything of this mystery, for they will seize me the day after tomorrow, but my redemption will be near. James said, Rabbi, you have said they will seize me, but what can I do? He said to me, fear not, James, you too will they seize. But leave Jerusalem, for it is she who always gives the cup of bitterness to the sons of light. She is a dwelling place of a great number of archons. Now, I just stopped there for a moment. For those of you who don't have a lot of background in Gnosticism, but you do in Star Trek, don't make the connection. There are no red shirts in this story. Where are we? Oh, yeah. But your redemption will be preserved from them, so that you may understand who they are and what kinds they are. You will... Now, this is going to start getting broken up because the manuscript's damaged. So I'm just... and sometimes, if it sounds like I'm just giving you phrases, that's because that's all there is. It's just phrases. They are not but archons, these 12 down archons, upon his own hebdomad. I don't know what a hebdomad is. I will be honest with you. James said, Rabbi, are there then 12 hebdomads and not 7 as there are in the scriptures? The Lord said, James, he who spoke concerning the scripture had a limited understanding. I, however, shall reveal to you what has come forth from him who has no number. I shall give a sign concerning their number, and as for what has come forth from him who has no measure, I shall give a sign concerning their measure. James said, Rabbi, behold then, I have received their number. There are 72 measures. The Lord said, these are the 72 heavens, which are their subordinates. These are the powers of all their might, and they were established by them, and these are they who were distributed everywhere, existing under the authority of the 12 archons. The inferior power among them brought forth for itself angels and unnumbered hosts. He who is, however, has been given blank on account of blank. He who is blank, they are unnumbered. Obviously, there's a damage to the manuscript right down here at the bottom. If you want to give them a number now, you will not be able to do so until you cast away from yourself blind thought. The bond of flesh, which encircles you, there's some of the Gnosticism, and then you will reach him who is. And you will no longer be James. Rather, you are the one who is. Man, that sounds a lot like the Matrix. You will no longer be James, but rather you are the one who is. But that's Gnosticism. It is the dissolving of the unitary self back into the one. It's monism. So you're a spark of the divine that has been cut off from your origin and source. You're trapped in the physical body. Once you get out of the physical body, you're reabsorbed back into. There's no enduring personality. Salvation is ceasing to be who you are. That is not Christianity. That's not Judaism. Every time my opponents, atheist, Mormon, Muslim, whatever, make appeal to Gnostic sources, I just want to chuckle, because it's like, haven't done much reading in that there stuff, have you? Yeah, okay. And you will no longer be James, rather you are the one who is. And all those who are unnumbered will all have been named. James said, Then, Rabbi, in what way shall I reach him who is, since all these powers and these hosts are armed against me? He said to me, These powers are not armed against you specifically, but are armed against another. It is against me that they are armed, and they are armed with other powers, but they are armed against me in judgment. They did not give blank to me in it blank, through them blank, in this place blank, suffering, I shall blank. He will blank. I shall not rebuke them, but there shall be within me a silence and a hidden mystery. But I am faint-hearted before their anger. James said, Rabbi, if they arm themselves against you, then is there no blame? You have come with knowledge that you might rebuke their forgetfulness. You have come with recollection that you might rebuke their ignorance. But I was concerned because of you, for you descended into a great ignorance, but you have not been defiled by anything in it. For you descended into a great mindlessness, and your recollection remained. You walked in mud, and your garments were not soiled, and you have not been buried in their filth, and you have not been caught. And I was not like them, but I clothed myself with everything of theirs. There is in me forgetfulness, yet I remember things that are not theirs. There is in me blank, and I am in their blank knowledge, not blank, not in their sufferings. But I have become afraid before them since they rule. For what will they do? What will I be able to say, or what word will I be able to say that I may escape them? The Lord said, James, I praise your understanding and your fear. If you continue to be distressed, do not be concerned for anything else except your redemption. For behold, I shall complete this destiny upon this earth, as I have said from the heavens, and I shall reveal to you your redemption. James said, Rabbi, how after these things will you appear to us again? After they seize you and you complete this destiny, you will go up to him who is. The Lord said, James, after these things I shall reveal to you everything, not for your sake alone, but for the sake of the unbelief of men, so that faith may exist in them. For a multitude will attain of faith, and they will increase in blank. After this I shall appear for a reproof to the archons, and I shall reveal to them that he cannot be seized. If they seize him, then he will overpower each of them. But now I shall go. Remember the things I have spoken, and let them go up before you. James said, Lord, I shall hasten as you have said. The Lord said farewell to him and fulfilled what was fitting. When James heard of his sufferings and was much distressed, they awaited the sign of his coming. And he came after several days, and James was walking upon the mountain which is called Galgalon with his disciples, who listened to him because they were distressed, and he was blank, a comforter, saying, This is blank, the second blank. Then the crowd dispersed, but James remained blank prayer, blank, as was his custom. And the Lord appeared to him. Then he stopped his prayer and embraced him. He kissed him, saying, Rabbi, I have found you. I have heard of your sufferings which you endured, and I have been much distressed. My compassion you know. Therefore, on reflection, I was wishing that I would not see this people. They must be judged for these things that they have done. For these things they have done are contrary to what is fitting. The Lord said, James, do not be concerned for me or this people. I am he who was within me. Never have I suffered, and catch this, never have I suffered in any way, nor have I been distressed. And this people has done me no harm. Again, Gnosticism, Jesus didn't really have a physical body. It wasn't he who was suffering upon the cross, blah, 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 blah. But this people existed as a type of the archons, and it deserved to be destroyed through them. But the archons, blank, who or which has blank, but since it blank, angry with blank, the just blank, is his servant. Therefore your name is James the Just. You see how you will become sober when you see me. And you stopped this prayer. Now since you are a just man of God, you have embraced me and kissed me. Truly, I say to you that you have stirred up great anger and wrath against yourself. But this happened so that these others might come to be. But James was timid and wept, and he was very distressed, and they both sat down upon a rock. The Lord said to him, James, thus you will undergo these sufferings, but do not be sad, for the flesh is weak, but it will receive what has been ordained for it. But as for you, do not be timid or afraid. The Lord ceased. Now when James heard these things, he wiped away the tears in his eyes, and very bitter blank, which is blank. The Lord said to him, James, behold, I shall reveal to you your redemption. When you are seized and you undergo these sufferings, a multitude will arm themselves against you, that they may seize you. And in particular, 3 of them will seize you. They who sit as toll collectors, not only do they demand, but they also take away souls by theft. When you come into their power, one of them who is their guard will say to you, "Who are you? Where are you from?" You are to say to them, "I am a son, and I am from the Father." He will say to you, "What sort of son are you, and of what father do you belong?" You are to say to him, "I am from the pre-existent Father, and a son in the pre-existent one." When he says to you blank, you are to say to him, "In the blank, that I might blank blank, that blank." Sounds like we're cussing here, and we really aren't. It's just holes in the manuscript, really, it is. And maybe some of these holes have been filled in by actually it's a very small amount of Greek that was found, but maybe there'll be a few less blanks in future publications. You're to say to him, "They are not entirely alien, but they are from Achamoth, who is the female. And these she produced as she brought this race down from the pre-existent one." More Gnosticism, one true God, the eons, dualism, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So that they are not alien, but they are ours. They are indeed ours because she who is mistress of them is from the pre-existent one. At the same time, they are alien because the pre-existent one did not have intercourse with her, and when she later produced them. When he also says to you, "Where will you go?" you are to say to him, "To the place from which I have come, there shall I return." Just love those lines in Gnostic writings. And if you say these things, you'll escape their attacks. But when you come to these three detainers who take away souls by theft, in that blank place these, you blank a vessel blank much more than blank of one of them, who you blank for blank her root. You too will be sober, blank, but I shall call upon the imperishable knowledge, gnosis, which is Sophia, more Gnosticism, who is in the Father, and who is the mother of Achamoth. Achamoth had no father nor male consort, but she is female from a female. Great, they had gender confusion amongst the Gnostics too. She produced you without a male, since she was alone and in ignorance as to what lives through her mother, because she thought that she alone existed. But I shall cry out to her mother, and then they will fall into confusion, will blame their root and the race of their mother. But you will go up to what is yours. You will, 2+ lines lacking, the pre-existent one. They are a type of the 12 disciples and the 12 pairs Achamoth, which is translated Sophia. And who I myself am, and who the imperishable Sophia is, through whom you will be redeemed. Notice that, through whom you will be redeemed, the imperishable Sophia. And who are all the sons of him who is. These things they have known and have hidden within them. You are to hide these things within you, and you are to keep silence, but you are to reveal them to Adai. Now, what's interesting is Adai. There is an Adai who was important in the founding of a branch of Syrian Christianity, but that's again late 2nd century at the earliest. So it has to be past that particular point in time, if that's who it's referring to. A little bit of anachronism there. When you depart immediately, war will be made with this land. Weep then for him who dwells in Jerusalem, but let Adai take these things in heart. In the 10th year, let Adai sit and write them down. When he writes them down blank, and they are to give them blank, he has blank, 2+ lines lacking. Blank line, blank line, blank line. He is called Levi. Then he is to bring blank word, blank from what I said earlier, blank a woman, blank Jerusalem in her, blank, and he begets 2 sons through her. They are to inherit these things and the understanding of him who blank exalts. And they are to receive blank through him from his intellect. Now the younger of them is greater. And may these things remain hidden in him until he comes to the age of 17 years. 4+ lines lacking. Through them they will pursue him exceedingly, since they are from his companions. He will be proclaimed through them, and they will proclaim this word. Then he will become a seed of blank. James said, I am satisfied blank, and they are blank, my soul. Yet another thing I ask of you, who are the 7 women who have been your disciples? And behold, all women bless you. I also am amazed how powerless vessels have become strong by a perception which is in them. The Lord said, you well, 4 lines lacking. Oh, drat. It was just getting interesting, too. 4 lines lacking. This is not, by the way, normally how Gnostic material is read in most university classrooms where it's looked upon with awe and everything else. It's just sort of like, it's just getting interesting. Oh, anyway. Blank, a spirit of thought, a spirit of counsel, a spirit, blank spirit of knowledge, gnosis, of their fear, when we had passed through the breadth of this archon who is named Adonaios, blank him and blank he was ignorant, blank when I came forth from him, he remembered that I am a son of his. He was gracious to me at the time as his son, and then before I appeared here, see, Jesus is this spirit that's just bouncing all over the place. And before I appeared here, he cast them among this people, and from the place of heaven the prophets, 4 lines missing. James said, Rabbi, I blank altogether, blank in them, especially blank. The Lord said, James, I praise you. Walk upon the earth, blank, the words while he blank on the blank. For cast away from you the cup which is bitterness, which is the bitterness, for some from blank set themselves against you. For you have begun to understand their roots from beginning to end. Cast away from yourself all lawlessness, and beware lest they envy you. When you speak these words, the perception, encourage these 4, Salome and Miriam and Martha and Arsinoe. Lines missing. Bunches and bunches of blanks, first fruits, blanks, blanks, so that the power of God might appear. The perishable has gone to the imperishable, and the female element has attained to this male element. I stop right there for a moment. Insta-quiz for those of you who think that you're algo. It's funny how many people come up to me and say, I'm your Norwegian algo, or I'm your Swiss algo, or whatever else. Algo has become famous. What does that remind you of? Let me read it again. The perishable has gone to the imperishable, and the female element has attained to this male element. Remember section 114 of the Gospel of Thomas. That last thing, I shall make the female male. There is this... You would think if there was consistency amongst the wild-eyed liberals and feminist studies people, that they would be all over this stuff seeking to ban it from universities, but they're not. James said, Rabbi, into these 3 things then has their blank been cast, for they have been reviled and they have been persecuted. Lines lacking, 7 lines lacking. For you have received knowledge, and that what is the go you will find blank. But I shall go forth and shall reveal that they believed in you, that they may be content with their blessing and salvation, this revelation may come to pass. And he went at that time immediately and rebuked the 12 and cast out of them contentment concerning the way of knowledge. Bunch of lines, bunch of lines, bunch of lines. And this is right toward the end of what we have left. For he is not worthy of life. That's interesting, because that, again, there is a line of not worthy of life in section 114 of the Gospel of Thomas, too. For he is not worthy of life. These then were afraid. They arose, saying, we have no part in this blood, for a just man will perish through injustice. James departed so that, boom, falls apart from there, just shreds after that, and that's it. That's all we've got. There's the first Apocalypse of James. I hope you all truly enjoyed that exciting reading. But to be honest with you, if you actually listen to all that, if you take the time to look it up, it's online. You can just Google First Apocalypse. There's a Gnostic library online. Go read it for yourself. It's just as exciting to read it yourself as to hear it read, though I hope I do add some interesting commentary along the way. But this is not new stuff. It may be new to you, but that's because most of us do not sit around reading this kind of stuff, because it's all like that. It's you sit there reading it, and after a while you start going, okay, female, male, yeah, absorb back into the one, but okay, yeah, there was this movement, and it was warned against in the New Testament, almost specifically by name. I mean, Paul does say, warn about those who falsely speak of knowledge, gnosis, and yeah, it happened. And obviously, the idea is today, let's dig these heretics back up and make them the original Christians. And let's make them a big, huge group that had all this influence and use this as a means to help people disbelieve. But when you listen to it, when you actually read it, the best thing to do when people, have you noticed that when people use the Gnostics, they almost never actually read from the Gnostics? Because when you do, people with this thing called common sense, who might actually know something about the New Testament, sit there going, okay, that's really weird. Why do you think this has something to do with Christianity again? So there you go. That's the ancient banned manuscript. Now you know. And I wonder how many people actually looked it up, but even then would have anything to know, have any idea what in the world it's talking about. And